What's happening?
They're starting to come through, and I can't stop them.
Send them through.
Nice, like a rodent.
You're late, man. Always late. I wouldn't want to fight me neither. Exactly.
Going in.
Give me a red.
Hello Spider-Man fans, thanks so much for clicking on this video. My name is Chris. I have finally seen Spider-Man No Way Home. This will be my spoiler-free review. I'm going to be as vague as possible without revealing anything about this movie, but I do want to caution my fans, be wary of the comment section and even some of the YouTube videos that get recommended along with this video, because sadly other people out there do want to ruin it for you. But aside from that, now going into the spoiler-free reviews, in Spider-Man No Way Home, we pick up where we left off from Spider-Man Far From Home, where everyone has found out Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Not only that, but Peter is dealing with how the world now knows his identity and how that's affecting the people around him. And real quick before diving into the review, I do want to go ahead and thank Cinemark Theaters for sponsoring the channel and helping me see Spider-Man No Way Home early. And let me tell you guys, Spider-Man No Way Home is a movie that must be seen in theaters, okay? Because there are so many stand up and clap and cheering moments, you're gonna want to feel that collective energy amongst other Spider-Man fans, and there's really no other better place to do it than Cinemark Theaters. It's my preferred theater, and it's the theater I'm gonna be going to multiple times to re-watch this film. So use the link in my description or pinned comment to look for a Cinemark theater near you so you could check out Spider-Man No Way Home. It's truly the best way to see the movie. Now, with a movie like Spider-Man No Way Home, it's one I've been covering for the longest time on the channel, and sometimes that could be a burden. One, because since you're anticipating and hyping up this movie, you end up finding out a little too much information that you feel might ruin the film for you. Or because you are building up all that anticipation and hype, you start to get to a level where you're like, there's no way this movie could ever reach that amount of anticipation. And then you go watch a movie like Spider-Man No Way Home and you are just left with so many damn emotions. Spider-Man No Way Home is going to be a movie I'm going to treasure and love for many years to come, because man, did they knock it out of the park. Some of the things that really made this movie stand out to me is that everything Jon Watts has been building up to with Homecoming and Far From Home, whether you have liked some of the decisions of MCU Spider-Man or not, I feel like there is just major payoff in Spider-Man No Way Home as far as the story arc going with Tom Holland's character, because I've been someone who's had my hesitations with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but then I eventually grew to really like his version, to now the vision is so clearly seen in Spider-Man No Way Home, where this 3-movie arc that Tom Holland goes through is just absolutely beautiful. And it's because of that amazing story and arc that Tom Holland goes through in Spider-Man No Way Home that will make you just love and appreciate Far From Home and Homecoming that much more. The idea to have Doctor Strange thrown in there as one of the supporting characters, because I'm not going to call him a mentor role, because as far as we've seen with Spider-Man, he's really grown up in his universe. And that's what I kind of like that they did here, is Doctor Strange isn't really there to babysit Spider-Man or to teach him a lesson. No, he just happens to be a supporting MCU character that drives the story forward and is a very welcomed addition, because Doctor Strange brings so much humor, especially if you know the kind of sarcasm that Doctor Strange has when he's bantering with Peter Parker. But the part I think most of us will really enjoy is just the fight sequences that go down with Doctor Strange and Peter Parker, that are just some of the most visually stunning scenes that we've seen in a Spider-Man movie. And that kind of goes for a lot of the fight scenes that this Spider-Man will go through with his villains. You've surely seen enough of the marketing material just showing you that bridge sequence, and it's one thing to just see angles and photos and small clips of that, but when you watch the whole thing complete, man, is it a sight to behold. But the other thing with Spider-Man No Way Home is, in a way, this movie really is a celebration of the character. This will become a double-edged sword, where Spider-Man No Way Home does rely on a lot of nostalgia, and that should seem obvious with the villains they're bringing in, who are the exact same actors that played them in other Spider-Man movies. And while I'm always someone on the camp that fan service doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing, I mean, this is what, our 9th, 10th Spider-Man movie ever made. I don't mind fan service being thrown our way, especially if it's used effectively, and I think it really is here. Because if you're someone who's been watching all the Spider-Man movies with these villains in them, man, you're just gonna have such a deeper appreciation for this movie, because at times it doesn't slow down and kind of spoon-feeding some of those people who just unfortunately haven't seen all the Spider-Man movies. You'll get a real sense when watching this that this movie was made for Spider-Man fans, and I could just not be more appreciative of that. Also because I feel like they really respect these villains that were brought into the movie. Like, all of them get their little moments to shine and are surprisingly way more faithful than I thought they were gonna end up being. I'm kind of caught between Dr. Octopus and Green Goblin in this movie just stealing those scenes, because man, Alfred Molina returning in his role and playing the character, it's like he never left, and same goes with Green Goblin, who gets way more maniacal and crazy in this movie, that I guess the more I think about it, it has to be Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin that steals it as one of the villains in this movie, because although he was someone that never really needed a second chance or another redo like maybe Electro, he does not waste the opportunity of getting to redo this character and bring him into the modern age that I'm like, Green Goblin, this dude is terrifying. And that's one thing that ended up surprising me about Spider-Man No Way Home. Like, the first half of this film is very lighthearted, it's fun, it's jokey, it's what you expect MCU Spider-Man to be. Not every bit of humor will land for some people, and some might even consider it annoying, but there is a turning point in this movie where things go dark. And Tom Holland's Spider-Man is faced to really deal with some struggles, and when that turning point happens in the movie, there's a shift in tone that brings so much emotion out of this movie that makes you really fall in love with it. Because trust me, even in those darker moments, they still throw in fun and humor that again might not work for everybody, but just that balance of what they were doing I thought was handled really well. Because in this movie, I cried out of sadness and I cried out of pure joy out of what I was witnessing from this movie. There's so many stand-up and clap moments in this film that I never wanted it to end. I'm seriously going back to the theater several times to rewatch this movie, not only because I enjoyed it that much, but I want to feel the reaction and hear that crowd when some of those moments go down, because it just brings so much joy to my heart. Now, trying to bring myself back down to reality a little bit and be honest with myself, it's not a perfect movie. There are definite flaws in there. There are a couple of decisions made in this film where I was like, oh, okay, that's a little interesting. I don't know if I like that all that much. I don't want to get into specifically. That'll be for when I do the spoiler review. I'll just say it involves the Ned character. And getting back to what I was saying, how the later half of this movie gets turned really dark and some of the humor is better balanced. In the earlier parts of the movie, before it takes that shift in tone and things get really serious, I felt like the pacing was a little off and all over the place, and sometimes it was just overly jokey where you're like, what's happening? And it wasn't always a smooth transition from scene to scene, but again, that's just the first half of the film. The second half, they fix that. And last thing I'll mention before I get onto my rating card here is if you're someone who's afraid that you've ruined this movie for yourself because of spoilers and leaks out there, one, there are surprises in this movie that were not spread out there. Also, two, not everything people talked about is even happening in this movie. But if you are someone who thinks they might have ruined the movie for yourself because you dived into all those things, all I gotta say, it's one thing for me to describe to you what chocolate cake tastes like, and then it's another thing for you to actually taste and enjoy chocolate cake for yourself. So for Spider-Man No Way Home, I'm gonna give action 4.5 stars here. There are so many action sequences I want to dive into and talk about, but I obviously can't. Just know that they are visually stunning, and I feel like there is a good balance of different fight styles that Tom Holland goes through in this movie. Commenting the film, I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars. The humor is not gonna work for everybody. Heck, some people might think it's a little too jokey, but honestly, it worked for me, and I'm just glad that that humor didn't overshadow some of the more darker moments that happen in this film. Drama in the film, I'm gonna give it 4 stars here. I'll be honest, the story is really wacky and all over the place, where on paper I feel like this movie should not have worked, but when you actually see it play out and the story arcs that the characters go through, from the villains to Tom Holland and his relationship with his friends, the movie manages to nail it. Horror in the film, I will give it 1.5 star here. Some younger people might end up being a little scared of Green Goblin, and as they should be, because boy, he don't hold back. And suspense in the film, I am going to give it 4 stars. Once it has that change in tone and things start getting serious, man, all cards are on the table. And with this being the ending of a trilogy, you don't know how this movie's going to end. Casual fans, I give it an A+. Cinephiles, I give it an A+. Critically, I give it an A+. For Spider-Man No Way Home, it gets the 3C guarantee. I am so happy to be saying those words, guys. Truly, I can't wait for you guys to see this film and witness it in all its glory. And I will say also, there are 2 credit scenes, one that happens at the very beginning and the one at the end. I recommend you stay for both. I can't wait to talk spoilers with you guys because there's so much in here to discuss. So be sure you stay tuned on the channel for after the movie's release, where we talk all that. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Thank you again to Cinemark for sponsoring the channel. Follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care, guys.